Something crazy that I remember seeing in prison was dudes going on the big yard. The big yard is where all the inmates from all the yards, because there's smaller yards, right, that go to the dormitories that you can go on, but you can't congregate people from other dorms because your dorm has a specific yard, right? Or your unit has a specific yard. But the big yard is where all the inmates from the entire prison can get together and go on the yard together to congregate. They call that the big yard. Well, on the big yard, one of the craziest things I ever seen in my life, I remember being in prison, was I seen dudes on the big yard with blankets. Yeah, they bring their blanket on the big yard, and they'll bring like some tea or some fruit punch. They make that, they call it that orange juice and that punch, and they make that mix. They make like little fruit punches, or they might have some alcohol in it too, you know, because they make that homemade alcohol. And they have their blanket on the big yard, and the dudes would have their punks with them. And the punks would have like homemade bikinis made out of like boxing shorts and tops or whatever they sold. I know this stuff is crazy, man, but this is the real stuff, man. Listen. And so the punks would be on the big yard, and they would be sunbathing, right? You know, the white punks, you know. I mean, you know, the black punks, they'd be sunbathing too, but they wasn't trying to get dark. But then white punks would be trying to get a tan, you know what I mean? And so one of the craziest things I ever did see, though, was punks fanning they boyfriends. That's right. They'd have like a fan. Like a geisha got a fan, they'd have like a geisha fan, and they'd be fanning the dudes. And they used to do this too, not just on the big yard with the blanket, because dudes would have their punks on the big yard on their blanket sipping tea and orange juice or fruit punch or whatever they had in there and getting their little sunbathing on. And they'd be, listen, I done seen the punks and the punk's old man, the boyfriend, they put lotion on each other's feet in the sun. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, this is some crazy stuff, yeah. But these dudes is out their mind. But the craziest thing, crazier than the punks on the blanket, was when dudes would be playing cards on the card table or dominoes, or they would be, you know what I mean, on the phone or something, and the punks would have that geisha fan. And while the old man, the boyfriend, was playing cards or dominoes, the punk would be standing next to him, fanning him with the thing. Look, in Louisiana prisons, it's hot. It's the South. There ain't no air conditioners. They usually got big industrial fans, and sometimes them fans don't touch everything. And they constantly blowing, so them fans are loud all summer long, pretty much throughout the whole year. And so the punks will be fanning the old man. And, you know, they bring that ice around too, you know, and so they make their ice water for him and they fan him. So, you know, because he's on the gambling table, and he's, you know, that's his house. He's going to take care of his punks or his punk. So he got to win food. That's basically his family. He got to feed his family. So they take this stuff serious. And I remember seeing this stuff, and I'm like, man, this is some crazy stuff to witness. I remember one time I saw a dude who I knew when I went home, and he was still a man. But when I saw him at the convenience store, he was dressed like a woman. So somewhere along the line, from the time that I went home to the time that he went home to the time I ran into him at the convenience store, he must have got turned out, or he turned himself out. Sometimes dudes get weak because they get that pressure, and those people keep trying to try you, and they just eventually give in. Because if you don't handle your business, they're going to keep trying you, you know? So you got to fight back, or you got to do something dirty, or you got to have a strong mentality and a strong mindset, or you can get turned out in prison. And you could be a man and go in there. They don't care if you got a wife. They're gonna turn you out, and you're gonna be their wife in there, and they're gonna try to find a way to make their wife, you know, write them and send them money, or they might make her they wife when they go home. This is the crazy stuff you got to deal with in prison. That's why it's just not worth it, man. Obey the law, be an upstanding citizen, and you don't have nothing to prove to nobody. You know, when you a man, when you take care of your responsibilities in life and you do the right thing, don't be a punk on the blanket on a big yard. Man, give me a like and subscribe to the Pen and the Shank. Let's get it.